Alright, welcome back to the channel. We're down to 3 weeks left in the regular season before you get into any conference games or any bowl game selection show and all that. But we just got through Tulane's most likely toughest stretch of the season after a very disappointing road loss on Thursday night 2 weeks ago against Texas San Antonio, getting blown out by 22. They come back against Memphis, who is supposed to be the toughest competition that they're playing in conference, and they survive a late run by the Memphis Tigers and hold on to a 38-22 lead, 38-32 win after being up 38-17 at the half and having to barely hold on in this game, where they could not establish a run for the entire game for the fact that Javen Gordon only had 66 yards total, and they could not put this game away. Retzlaff started 16 for 17 on the game, ended up 16 for 23, and fortunately enough, they made enough plays, at least at the very end, on the RPO that Retzlaff ended up keeping at the very last drive, and somehow held on to that game, going into not completely ruining their chances to make the playoff and making the American Conference Championship game. Yes, it was nice to see Retzlaff throw for over 300 yards, 330 yards and 3 touchdowns, averaging just over 14 yards per attempt, and be able to get a bunch of production without even getting anything out of Amari Hayes. Bryce Bohannon going over 100, Shaz Preston with 85 and 2 touchdowns, Anthony Brown-Stevens 69 and a touchdown. But you see on the other end, you see Brendan Lewis, 29 for 34, 317, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. They got torched through the air. Yes, they were able to stop anything they had to offer on the ground, but this game should have been put away at least in the third quarter. And then the entire fourth quarter, Memphis went on a run and made that way too close to the game. Memphis had way too many opportunities to tie or take the lead in that game. But all that being said, Tulane is now 7-2 on the year, 3 more games in the regular season, and then they come back home this week to play Florida Atlantic in a 3 o'clock slot on the 15th against, if DJ Lagway did not throw another 3 interceptions, they would have the league leader, the country leader in interceptions that they're going against with the Florida Atlantic Owls, with Caden Veldkamp. Veldkamp on the season, after being with Western Kentucky for 3 years, had 20 touchdowns and 11 interceptions, completing 66% of his passes, just under 2,600 yards. There's a reason Florida Atlantic is 4-5 on the season, basically middle of the pack in the conference, where all of the top teams in the conference have kind of taken it to these Owls, like Memphis blowing them out by 29, South Florida blowing them out by 35, Navy taking it to them. And that's your 3 losses in conference. The other ones outside of conference, Maryland and Florida International. But the one thing you do see off of that, consistently, Veldkamp's getting 250 plus every single game, but he's really having to go 250 to 300 plus every single game because on the ground, they have little to no production. They're led by Jamari Sands, who just has over 330 yards on the season, 4.7 yards per run, 0 touchdowns, nothing at all. And then their backup, Caden Shields-Dutton, 300 yards and has the 4 touchdowns that they have on the ground. That's it. They only have those people with 300 yards each. Like, you take a look through their stats, and including the 16 sacks that they've taken on the season, 435 dropbacks to 273 attempts on the ground. That's basically 60-40 split, almost a 2-to-1 split. They cannot establish a run. Under 3.5 yards per carry, and 8 total touchdowns, 4 of them by Shields-Dutton. Like, because of this lack of running game, they are the top passing offense in the American, getting at 320 plus yards a game, but 13 interceptions overall through 24 touchdowns through the air. On the ground, on the other hand, they're second worst in the conference, more than 20 yards worse than the third worst team in the conference, and only Charlotte being under 100 yards a game rushing. Now, against the run, which Tulane has been relatively solid for this past year, outside of the last couple games, Florida Atlantic gives up over 200 yards on the ground and has given up 25 touchdowns, which is worst in the conference. Passing on in the same aspect, fourth in the conference, 208 yards given up per game. So just over 400 yards total, basically half and half between run pass as defense. So through the air, Florida Atlantic is actually pretty good. Only 13 touchdowns this season, but does not take the ball away. Only 2 interceptions. They don't give up that many yards whenever they're not getting gashed on the ground. Now, it does make a little sense based off of their personnel why they're a little more giving on the ground game, as they do play a 3-4 defense, 3 down linemen, and then 4 linebackers. So they're a little bit undersized overall as a defense, and a lot of their sack production does come from that D-line himself. Deshaun Baptiste leads the team with 3.5. CJ Doggett has 3 sacks. Wilkie Deneau also 3 sacks. Doggett also having 5 TFLs to lead the team. While they can end up bringing a bit of extra pressure, like with cornerback Therese Reed, who also has one of their 2 interceptions on the season, it is more going to be that base 3-4 of the 3 D linemen and an edge rusher coming in. But overall, you take this game, if you're able to consistently set the tempo, set the pace with your running game, you should be able to control this clock and get it to where Veldkamp has to consistently pass. He is going to make mistakes. That 11 interception of the season, yes, a bit of his interception numbers are tilted from those 2 out-of-conference games, 4 against Maryland, 3 against Florida International. But whenever he actually has played, for the most part, conference opponents, he does end up making a mistake on average once per game. Case in point, the South Florida and Navy game. But the pace had already gone so much into their opponent's favor that he's been having to throw the ball 40, 50 plus times whenever they get into extended deficits. But overall, you really take away most of Florida Atlantic's season being a 17.5 point underdog in this game. If an opponent is able to get over 200 yards rushing, then they end up beating this Florida Atlantic team who's 4-5 on the season, still trying to fight to get a bowl game. Get production out of Javen Gordon. Get production out of Zuberi Mobley. Get Retzlaff out in space as a runner. Take away the Rice game and take away the Maryland game in the very opening game of the season, and you should be able to outpace whatever Florida Atlantic can do, and hopefully you can outrun some of their late game heroics with Veldkamp and be able to get your 8th win on the season. Keep your chances alive to make the playoff and the American Conference Championship, as you have 5 teams that still have a good shot of winning this conference. Navy, South Florida, Tulane, North Texas, East Carolina, I forgot about them, and Memphis all could technically win this conference. But yeah, with that all being said, thank y'all for watching. A couple days away from this game happening. We'll see who ends up getting closer into clinching a conference championship spot. And as of right now, South Florida being the favorite to making the playoff overall as a group of 5. Tulane and James Madison close behind in North Texas also. But we'll see how that goes. Thank y'all for watching. Please like, subscribe. Please comment down below if there's anything else you want to see. Anything else you want to see in the future on this. More content coming soon. And thank y'all for watching. I'll see you on the next video.